Well, congratulations on that beautiful documentary, which already shows how many different organizations and parties we're going to have to need to be collaborating together to get it done, and that it needs to be done. Obviously, for me, I have the advantage to be in a lot of events and projects around sustainability, and so I know a lot of facts, but this is startling. I think that's a correct English word, isn't it? Shocking. Just how bad it is if we don't act. And I think this maybe is the problem, because we're talking about microplastics or nanoplastics that even some of the most advanced researchers had trouble to find them. This is why it's a problem, and we're much more eager to talk about and maybe a tough political issue at the moment, but wars that are going on, or maybe pollution that we can see, because we just can't see it. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Obviously, you need to let this all process in your mind, and I'll have some guests here. We're going to do a little Graham Norton kind of setting, or a little bit more Ellen DeGeneres. I don't have any chairs that flip back. I'm sorry. We don't have that effect here. We're going to talk with some representatives of the different areas. And during this talk, we also have the opportunity to make room for some questions. So we have a nice dialogue together to make sure that the questions that you need an answer to before you leave and can do your part in this elaborate problem that we need to fix all together. So I'm going to make you a little bit my, how do you call that? Yeah, but the newsroom. You know, each show that I just mentioned, they have this team of specialists, and they take like a month to think of 3 smart questions. So I'll give you a couple of minutes and come up with like a bunch of smart questions that we can ask to our specialists. First, let's introduce them and get them on stage, making sure obviously that they'll also get a nice warm applause of you all. And maybe this is also so loud that if someone fell asleep, I can't imagine it happened, but some people will fall asleep during a film, they wake up instantly. This is the effect we want to cause when we're welcoming to the stage. The Commission on Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution will be presented by Irina Makarenko, and I practice on your name. OSPAR Commission from the Northeast Atlantic, we have John Mouat. John Mouat, yes, much easier than I thought. Come to the stage. When you're all here, we give you a big applause. And HELCOM Commission from the Baltic Sea, we have Stefanie Werner. Yes, please be seated on the chair that fits your outfit best. Yes. We have this microphone, obviously, because we're spending public money. We didn't give you all a microphone. We have to share. And let's introduce you first. You're representing 3 of the 4 regions that were involved. Unfortunately, we had to, Tanya Hema had to cancel from the Mediterranean Sea. So let's start with you, Stefanie. You're close by from the Baltic Sea. First off, if you would describe that region, what is specific in that region if we look at pollution and the marine litter? Could you share a little bit so we get to know you and the Baltic Sea area?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for introducing us. I'm actually not from the Commission, not from the HELCOM Commission. I'm from the German Federal Environment Agency, and I was asked by the HELCOM Commission to represent HELCOM here today because I was highly involved in the development of the Regional Action Plan for the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea is a very shallow sea, not many fish species, for example, a very sensitive, polluted sea. And we face some specific litter problems there. For example, we have a lot of ghost nets. We found the abundant, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear. So some specific problems we have to scope with. And yeah, we actually developed an action plan to target these items.
We're going to learn a little bit more about that later. First, let's get to know John a little bit better from the Northeast Atlantic. Are you from the Commission, or?
Yeah, I am. I'm
a real Commission member. Yes. So, what's specific for that area, John?
So I think we've heard a lot about the North Sea and some of the challenges with high population. Again, a shallow sea, but OSPAR actually covers quite a large area. We reach out halfway across the Atlantic, so we go as far as the Azores, as far north as the Arctic Circle, so you have a lot of very different situations, a lot of different challenges within that area. If you look at the North Sea, where you have a lot of inputs from rivers, a lot of human activity. If you then go to the west coast of Ireland, where you maybe have more of an influence coming from litter and oceanic litter coming from the Atlantic. So there's different challenges there.
Okay, so it would also make the work of the Commission for that part more difficult, right? Because you have more diversity in the... then we'll go to the Black Sea. Irina Makarenko. That was the first name that I pronounced right?
Yeah, because I spent the entire coffee break trying to learn.
You were training me.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everyone. It is a pleasure to join you. I represent actually half of the Black Sea Commission because we are only 2 people. So you can see almost all the Commission here. So actually the Black Sea is also a sea which has many challenges, starting from the political challenges now, because only 2 countries are members of the European Union, and 4 countries, unfortunately, since these 2 weeks, 4 rest of the countries are not even having diplomatic relations, although in the Commission we have all the common goal towards protection of the Black Sea, so we don't have that challenge in the Commission, but still. In terms of the pollution, of course, the sea is anoxic, that's why it is actually black. It has, of course, the problems with nutrients, with, all the problems that other regional seas are facing. And with the marine litter, it is more or less okay because we're not really monitoring marine litter, so that's why it's very difficult to really assess, the challenges that we have regarding marine litter.
Yeah. So in this project, the idea was for all those different commissions to work together. Is it because you're already describing a problem? Because so many different nationalities or parties or countries can be involved in monitoring or cleaning an ocean and the different laws that come to there. So how to overcome this challenge, bringing together all these differences that exist in research or cleaning? Who could I address that? John?
Well, I think we have one common driver between the different regional seas is the Marine Strategy Framework Directive from the EU. The regional seas do the regional coordination. Obviously, you don't have any borders in a sea, so you need to look at common monitoring, common indicators, and then work towards common measures. So that's the first way to bring the countries together. Also that's the role of regional seas before the MSFD, was to work collaboratively on common oceans. So there's a strong driver there to take the work forward together.
Yeah. Stefanie?
Yeah, and it's not a new problem. For example, the OSPAR region is monitoring for a very long time. Also, for the Baltic Sea, we have quite comprehensive data sets for beach litter, for example. And I think if you start thinking about measures, you always come to the same fields of actions and the same sectors which need to be addressed, such as sea-based sources, such as shipping or fishing, and land-based sources, of course, sewage management, riverine inputs, and so on. So I think in the end, we share common ground on what needs to be addressed, and we can exchange knowledge on that.
And here, I guess we also have to acknowledge that the differences in the way that the different commissions are organized and the seas that they operate in, that also will determine in which way can we have an ambition, can we have a goal to reach a first step, right? We heard that in one of the first presentation, that an ambitious goal for Holland maybe not ambitious for Bulgaria, so for to say. So how does this affect what you take back to report to the region where you come? Is this immediately translating into concrete goals that you can roll out in the region that you are operating in?
You mean the research results we heard
Yeah,
today
well,
about?
because the differences are so. So, is it for the Baltic Sea? Will there be different steps to be taken than for the Black Sea, so to say?
Thank you. Despite the challenges that they were mentioned, I think that since 2013 we have a common vision of what we are, following. And actually in the same people were in Berlin conference on marine litter. So it was agreed, and it was our message in the bottle, so-called. So it was agreed to follow an approach to have regional action plans for all the 4 regional seas. So we are, we are on the different stages now. I would say that the Black Sea is trying to catch up with other regional seas, but all of us, as far as I know, has made some steps towards these action plans. Even us, I'm happy to say it, because 2 years ago it was nothing to say. Now this issue, the issue of marine litter, is back on the agenda of the Black Sea Commission, and we now have concrete steps. And we have Bulgaria, who came up with a proposal of the draft regional action plan for the Black Sea. We have support of the European Commission. We have support of the United Nations Environmental Programme. So we are now trying to catch up with monitoring guidelines for marine litter, with concrete actions for the action plan, with different things that different seas are considering important for themselves. Because of course you cannot really compare us in terms of different parameters, starting from biological and finishing with political things. But I think that having this approach of addressing the issues of marine litter through the action plans, we are gradually covering this challenging topic on our agenda.
Great. So, and that way you're looking at, obviously you're using the general outcome of this project to make sure that you have an individual approach, and this is why we have to see it at all as all these different areas, right? But what would be the common things? What can we learn from each other? Okay, so what they're doing great in Bulgaria, we can also use this maybe to elaborate what you're already doing for OSPAR?
Yeah, that collaboration between regions is something that we're working on. We had a first meeting in Paris a couple of months ago, September. Yeah, looking at, obviously there's specifics to each region in terms of the types of litter, the main sources, what you need to tackle first in terms of measures, whether it's waste management or it's dealing with specific sources. But obviously there's a lot of common actions that are the same, and as you mentioned, we're all dealing with public money, so what we don't want to be doing is repeating the same actions in each of the regional seas. If there's common measures that we can take, or if one area is leading on one measure, they can then share that best practice with the other areas. So we're actively working between the secretariats of the different regions to make sure we capitalize on those lessons learned.
Stephanie?
Yeah, maybe to add on that, and of course, a lot of these actions require dialogue with certain stakeholders, with third parties, which are sometimes not part of the commissions or of the members of the commissions, but still they are all in the end are the same stakeholder we need to address, and we are already in dialogue with, and so I think there's a lot of common ground, and I am actually really interested in the specific outcomes of that project. We heard a lot, but a lot of questions were raised as well today, and I hope a lot of these questions will be answered in the results once we have a deeper look inside.
Yeah, Irina?
Thank you. Reflecting the interaction with the projects, actually we are all participating in different types of projects, and they are really helping our to link the scientific interface and some policymakers, and actually we are providing a bridge between them. For us, the CleanSea is actually a kind of a scientific evidence of the impact of marine litter, because even if it's obvious, it should be proven somehow. We also have some other projects, but they're mostly oriented on, for example, dissemination of information or some other marine litter related activities. But having this scientific evidence is really important, because in order to convince the countries which are as I said, in our region, MSFD is not
Yes.
legally binding. So in order
Priorities
to-
are different. Yeah.
In order to convince the countries, you really need to prove and really show the evidence that there is an impact, and that's why the project is really helping us with it. And we are really waiting forward the official deliverables to be able. Actually, from our side, I think we are very important stakeholders for any project implemented in the European space, let's say, in terms of dissemination, in terms of sustainability of the deliverables of each and every project. So here we also stand ready to support the project in this direction.
Okay, so I already told you, and you were part of it, I have a smart audience, only smart, intelligent people, a lot of whom have experience in this field, so maybe someone has a question that we could talk about. It could be a direct question to one of the commission members, or it could be a question that you want to discuss together here, because you also have a lot of experience in your field. So who would like to raise a question? We have a question over here. Mr. Cameraman, please stand up so you can hear your question. Who are you and what would you like to ask?
My name is Stijn, I'm from the Netherlands, Alkmaar. I'm doing Who, Where, What TV, and my question is actually, who do you think is more responsible for the problem? Is it the producer or is it actually the consumer? I would like to have the opinion of you all three.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, because we are already talking about where the salvations, the solutions. So let's be salvated. Yeah, the solutions should come from. Design is one of the things. Prevention is what comes about. Where does the problem lie? Consumer or producer? John.
I wouldn't like to lay the blame. I think there's many different sources, and I think you have to tackle them all. I think there's nobody I think people don't plan in their consumption to go out and cause a problem. Sometimes it's because of lack of awareness. Sometimes it's because, as we say, a systemic problem in the way things are produced. So I think marine litter is such a diffuse problem where there are many different sources, many different routes. A wicked problem, as was said, that I think you have to tackle each one of those.
Yeah, could it be fair to say, well, if we need to say who's to blame, then it's both. Everybody is to blame then, because obviously there are manufacturers that they don't take count of what they use to wrap their products or stuff, and we have a lot of consumers that at a day at the beach. Maybe the same consumer that says, I'm willing to pay for a clean beach, is also one of the consumers that leaves his stuff at the beach behind. But someone is leaving it there, right?
Yeah, I think there's certainly both causes of the problem.
Yeah. Okay, Stephanie wanted to react as well. Who's to blame, Stephanie?
Well, looking, for example, at Germany, we always are very proud of our very nice waste management system, which is, of course, in place. But we are also the biggest producer, together with Italy, in the European context of plastics, which we export. So their producer responsibility comes in. We also have a recycling rate of maybe 34%, which is nice, but a lot of space to go beyond. So I think it's really both sides, and it's a lot of gaps there as well. For example, for littering, we don't have any data. All the numbers you get from Plastics Europe is for waste which is actually kept in the circle. So we don't know what is escaping the circle. We know it's around 30 million tons in Europe every year, which somehow go into the environment. So these data gaps have to be closed, and also, it's a question of single-use items, in my opinion, and of long-term applications. As long as things have no value for the consumers, they won't be valued. So I think if you talk about prevention, you always have to talk about reduction in production, especially for single-use items.
Okay, thank you, Irina. Yeah.
You know, since we already have a difficult political situation in the region, I have no mandate to blame anybody else. I mean, it's already enough. I also think that it's both sides, actually, and sometimes it's just a simple awareness, even. Like myself, like a customer, and I'm living in Turkey at the moment already for 5 years. I cannot understand how this country is very advanced in many techniques in fighting with macroplastics and different things, and they have, for each municipality, they have a separate action plan actually on marine litter, which was endorsed by our advisory groups. But at the same time, every time going for shopping, I bring at least 15 plastic packets.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So this is actually a question, you know, even my own question to
And then
myself.
if you come to awareness, I think that a lovely example that you would say Turkey is a very advanced economy and has technology. Then I was in Rwanda in June, and this is one of the countries that just said, plastic bags, let's quit. And they like overnight, they quit with plastic bags. You think, why don't we have that in Holland? Why doesn't anyone, or in Turkey for that matter? So how will we raise the awareness? Because obviously today we're looking at some very confronting data. I see a lot, and still I'm shocked. So how can we raise awareness? Because obviously to make sure that policymakers eventually will start making different kind of laws, we need the crowd also to get moving, to say, I don't want to eat my fish with microplastics. How to get people involved? John is going to give us the answer.
I think one of there's always going to be a big proportion of the public that are environmentally interested and will be aware of the situation, but you also need to get to the other part that's not. And I think that's one of the things that microplastics, when you show that organisms are taking this waste on board, and you show that there's a potential path there towards human consumption, that can really raise the awareness within the general public that are not maybe so aware of other environmental issues, and that can be a way in to then raise their awareness on all the other topics we've been talking about, the circular economy, how we should reuse, recycle, paths of litter into the marine environment. So I think you need something to get it on up to that general consciousness within the general public.
Okay. Unfortunately, because of time, we'll have to leave the discussion plenary for here as it is now. Hopefully you will be with us when we're having drinks, and there will be more discussion to hear more from you guys, also from the project and the commission that you're representing. So I would like a very big applause and thank you for your contribution. Irina, John and Stefanie, thank you very much. I would like to ask Heather to come over. And also Hans, we've both seen you before. Shall I take the microphone for you? Yeah. Join me on stage, please, because you guys want to sit down? Yeah, we can sit down. We can still play a little bit of a talk show. Yeah, I like it. Maybe I do have a chair that flips over. No, it will stay over. You will flip almost because of how long you are. Stay stable. So we're agenda setting. We're talking about what needs to be done. We're maybe pointing a little bit the finger, but we don't know in what direction. But we know that there's a big problem. What would be the next step if you had a say, Heather? What do you want that from this project? What would come next?
Well, I'm a researcher, so
more research.
Yeah. No, I think I do think that. I'll make that point because that's what I'm confronted with all the time. We are hearing every time I speak to a policymaker, they ask, "So how bad is it?" And I speak to journalists sometimes, and they ask the exact same thing. Everybody will want to know that, and we still have to get a better answer to this question and to refine it more, and also the effects on human health. I think now the European Marine Board is really pushing to incorporate human health in the oceans, and you can meet now medical doctors who are even interested in the oceans, and I think making these kinds of connections will help us inspire people working on policy to do their expertise, use their expertise.
So then we'll have more data, we'll have more research, and for the common man, understandable what the consequences of that data is, how it's affecting my health. How will this translate into policy, Hans? How will we be able to inspire the politicians in Brussels and in the individual states as well?
I do agree that we need more data, but not just more data, because we have a ton of data on many things in society, and we don't just need more data. That's creating more noise. We need better sound. And I think the sound is sort of the understanding that is based on the data. And I think this project sort of went through the cycle to create knowledge instead of more data just. When you asked what needs to happen, I think on most of the nature directives, natural capital, biodiversity, ecosystem type of legislation, better implementation. I mean, that is step one. We are nowhere near the goals for 2020, let alone beyond, on any of the nature or biodiversity legislation in Europe or across the world. So let's start taking that sort of policy serious and understand that this is not about plants and animals necessarily. It's about the systems that sustain life on this planet and that are the basis on which we build our societies. And if we don't start to understand that, we're going to live under the illusion that we can just continue and degrade, erode the capital. Yeah? Nobody would say, oh, let's build our society on an eroding economic capital or on human capital. But apparently with natural capital, we seem to be fine with it. So that needs to change. In terms of additional policies, I think the precautionary principle was mentioned, and it's clear that on some of the topics that were brought up today, I think we should take it serious. We have indeed done historically in our work on early warnings or late lessons from early warnings, complicated. We have looked at 42 cases where scientists said, guys, we think we have a serious problem here. Yeah? And based on those 42 cases, we came to the conclusion, one, that they are hardly ever wrong. When scientists come with that, they're usually on solid ground. Secondly, it's much cheaper to take early action and precaution than to try to fix things later on. So this is also a type of knowledge, not in micrograms and ppms, but in sort of an understanding of what the consequences for society are. And I think the precautionary principle is one of the 4 core principles in the Lisbon Treaty for European environmental policy making. Let's take it serious, because this is serious business. It is very serious business.
The problem that we're fighting is human nature. Our nature to not want to change anything, to leave things as they are and not see the danger. Because it brings me to the image of the boiling frog syndrome. We like the warm water. Heather.
Yeah, well, actually, did you notice that the frogs actually don't, they actually do jump out. And I think that, well, we have to hope that they will be smart enough and that we'll be smart enough too. And I think if, you know, lots of people are interested in this topic. And just this summer, there was someone who works for the biggest road manufacturer of the Netherlands. Now, can you imagine what does manufacturing a road have to do with marine litter? But he, in his own company, was thinking about what can I do from my perspective, and he had all kinds of ideas, and this is something that they are developing to use ocean plastic, and I think these are things that are signals that it is a broad subject that touches a lot of people, and it's such a visual subject as well.
Yeah. So obviously we hope that the film will contribute to this, and all the research data and material that will be available later. So is there a next step within the project that we can expect, or maybe even hope for? Will there be like an endurance of the project?
Well, the project is going to be closing soon. We have a very nice website. Thank you to the EUCC for doing that. And we're posting all kinds of summaries of our work, and we'll be posting the deliverables that we are working on now at the end of the year, beginning of next year. Everything should be up there. And so we don't have a continuation of the project. There will be more work going on. I should say that the marine unit of DG RTD, the Research and Innovation Director General, they are really pushing for more work in this area. So that should be coming up in Horizon 2020.
Okay, let's hope that will be continued in that matter. Then obviously we had some contours of I'll get to you, of a lot of organizations that are also represented here. We saw the surfboard. Is the surfboard back to its owner? Yeah, you got it back? Great. Surfboard made out of plastic caps. And I also saw some people with plastic bags. They were cleaning up the area around here. So we have a lot of organizations that are involved in some way on, the cleaning up bit and maybe even the prevention bit. What would you like to address to those people? Maybe give them a motivation extra to leave the room later on and to continue their work, or to even maybe double the work effort.
Well, that's a big question. I think that we are all really responsible for our own actions, and I think that the system that we operate in really determines a lot of our choices, and the things that are so it's very difficult for to do personal change on your own. If I want to be a zero waste consumer, it's very difficult. If I manage it, I'll probably get in the news because it's so special. But the things that are going on with these NGOs, I think it's really very visible. It's involving a lot of people. If you meet anybody under 12, they know more than me about this subject, because they've been really involved in it. And I think it's not only for us, but also we do have to take care of this planet also for the future generations. And that is very difficult because we don't really feel something for future generations. So that's a limitation in our neocortex that has to do a bit more evolving probably before we really end up being able to rationalize and this.
Hans?
I don't know about the cortex much, but that's why I think, and it's a fundamental thing, we speak about the next generations, but it's actually this generation, right? It's this one. We don't have several generations to solve it. If you're born today as a young girl, by 2050 you will be 35 years old. We promise this young girl that she will be living in a circular economy, low carbon, with strong natural capital. We've got a lot of work to do, and we better start today, because everything we do today will be there in 2050. Any energy infrastructure that we build today has a life cycle to 2050. Every road that you build will be there in 2050. So what we do today, to a large extent, will determine whether and if we can reach those lofty 2050 goals. And if we're going to have healthy, clean, and productive oceans, those three fundamental goals will be the underlying current of change in society. So, of course, we do it for the next generations, but it's this generation. And 2050 is far away, it's unimaginable. Let's then think to 2030. I call that the imaginable future. If we cannot imagine what we should do in terms of policy, in terms of technology, behavioral change, where we want to go, educational change, by 2050, I think we are collectively failing. In the knowledge system, in the educational system, in the political system, in companies, in boardrooms of big multinational companies, that's not too far away. Let's get going. And we know what the sense of direction is. That's 2050. We need to know where we want to be in 2030, because that is the next policy horizon in Europe and globally. 2020 is done, you know. It's done. There's still some work to do, don't get me wrong. But the next goal is 2030. Let's get going. Yeah?
Thank you very much. We're going to leave it at that. Leslie and Hans Bruinings, thank you very much. And also a last thank you to all the people that made a contribution to the CleanSea project. And we're addressing researchers, commission members, obviously a lot of volunteers, people from the film crew, the people that were interviewed, and all these people that helped from the university as well. So thank you very much. And also we'd like to thank you for all coming here and making this important, because you spend an entire afternoon here soaking in all this knowledge about the sea and just how bad it is at this moment. And hopefully we got you engaged and involved in dreaming with us of the goal where we want to get a clean sea, because all the people here, they don't only think it's possible, they want to believe it's possible, but we need your help. So just to keep it in the words of Hans, keep going because of time. All other questions, we'll have to take them with us to the drinks that are ready for you. Also, let nothing go to waste, please. Have a nice talk and make new connections, because also a thing that I found so beautiful is that all these people from different countries were working together, and I guess together we're so much smarter than just as one. Good luck with your part and your contribution in creating a better world, and hopefully we'll have a clean sea by 2020. Anyway, yeah, let's try to do that. Okay, thank you for coming. See you next time.